I'm Evan DeWald, and I am joined by Tara Lindsley, and we are the voices behind the Unpacked podcast. On the Unpacked podcast, one of the things we love to do is talk about life and storytelling, and sometimes life gets messy and vulnerable and all those things. So we have conversations with counselors, with psychologists, with industry leaders, storytellers, and just regular humans that are making a difference in the world.
Yeah, and we're just hoping to grow and reflect and heal together. So you can find our podcast anywhere you subscribe to your podcasts. New episodes come out every Thursday. Enjoy.
Make sure to like and subscribe. See you there. Hey, Tara.
Hey.
How are you doing?
Good.
Good. Oh, what kind of week was it for you?
It was a good week, mostly, I think. I don't know. I only remember the last couple days.
You just got short-term memory?
I just live in the present moment.
Oh, you sure do.
I could tell you what this morning was like. That's.
I'm thinking about what I'm doing this week.
Yeah? What's up for this week?
I get to go on a trip. It's a work trip.
A very exotic work trip.
Very exotic. Going to Edmonton.
Whoa.
Yep.
Exciting.
Yeah, I facilitate a role in restorative justice at Synergy. I'm going to a restorative justice conference because this week is Restorative Justice Week in Canada.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. Nobody knows what restorative justice is.
No.
It's a funny thing when I quit at the church and decided to take on my new roles.
Yeah.
I realized I'm going to be explaining what I do for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
It does not matter what job I seem to get. So people ask me, I actually had somebody last week go, hey, what exactly is it that you do? And they seemed particularly interested. Mm-hmm. So began
the whole
90-minute elevator speech.
90? That can't be an elevator speech. What elevator
poor
are you
sucker,
riding?
He was stuck in the car with me. So we were doing ball drive with the kids.
Oh, yeah.
Poor guy.
You're so passionate about it, which is great. Also, by the way, my entire career has been that too.
I know,
people are like,
well, let me communicate to you what communications is. So yeah, I'm heading up to Edmonton. Mm-hmm. It's a 2-day conference.
Fun.
Head up on Wednesday.
Okay. But you'll be back for the weekend?
Yeah, I'll be back for the weekend.
Okay.
So don't worry. We'll be around for party time.
Okay, good. Because soccer.
Yeah, breakfast together.
That's right.
It's going to be fun. Yeah, so I don't know what to expect. This is what's funny. I'm an extrovert. I don't know if you noticed that.
What?
Not crazy. But I'm also noticing I need to time by myself a little bit too. Mm-hmm. And I'm an extrovert in a room that I know the people in.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but I get a little on the freaked out side when I go alone. Mm-hmm. So it was funny because I was like, I'm excited to go to this conference. As soon as it got approved, I immediately was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be in a big giant room filled with people that I don't know. I didn't like that feeling very much. And then quickly followed by an even worse scenario, a medium-sized room, half full with people I don't know.
Why is a medium-sized room worse?
I don't know. It feels like the bigger the crowd, the less you'll be noticed that you don't know anyone.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. I feel like that every room I enter into.
Wow.
Uh-huh. If I know the people, but I'm always a little bit nervous.
See, if I'm leading the room, it's no problem.
Yeah, well, you're in control. That makes sense.
It doesn't matter if it's a big room, little room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like having a job, for sure. That makes it a lot easier.
But I am excited about learning some stuff, some more things, and kind of reiterating again, like this idea of restorative justice. What does it mean? How does it work? Like all that stuff. That's something I am looking forward to. I'm looking forward to most of it.
Okay.
It's just
most
that
of
awkward
it.
part, right? I'm just like, how will this work? Or what will this feel like? So,
yeah.
Oh, we had fun on the weekend.
Yeah, it was great. We got to have a fire.
We had a fire. First one of the season.
I also really appreciated the path to the backyard.
You like that, eh?
That was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially because I have a 3-year-old who struggles in the snow.
Yeah, I was playing Mr. Plow.
Yeah.
Last week when it was really cold and the only thing I could start was my quad with the plow on it. So I just plowed right across the lawn.
Well, I appreciated the path and I got to sit like very close to a nice hot fire. So
yes,
that was great.
Like very close. Like burn your kneecaps kind of close.
Yeah, it was good.
It just depended if the person who was tending the fire, got overexcited and not when I was throwing wood in.
Or were paying attention.
Yeah. So I wasn't doing either of those things. I was just throwing wood in and keeping everybody warm. Just doing my job. It's adoption month.
It is.
It was fun. We got to talk a little. We just got into some good conversations and sharing stories about our adoption stories and some of that stuff. And
yeah.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was really fun. All our friends have kind of, because we did it all different times too, and with different countries, we all have like different stories of how that all works and what that experience has been like.
I think it's good for you to go back and remember the process.
Yeah, I think so too.
It is a funny thing because it's like what I omit out of a lot of that story is all the waiting in between.
Even I remembered, like in South Africa, we go and we do all our paperwork and our court date all at the same time. And hearing again that you guys had to leave Otto, I just was like, my heart just broke. Like it's
brutal.
It's awful.
Yeah, it was 11 years ago last week.
Yeah, that's so
My
cool.
Facebook memories were telling me that we have just the best picture of him.
I know, he's so cute.
I showed it to him this week though. I was like, look at this guy.
Yeah.
It's like plaid. You bought me a plaid shirt.
He's just so cool. He just knows.
Yeah. It's like, we didn't know there was going to be like track pants that are too small for you and t-shirts that are like too big for you kind of a outfit. I didn't know that's the kind of guy you were planning to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So many of us, like pretty much our whole little group of people, we are all adoptive parents. Yeah.
It's kind of amazing.
Yeah. Got that in common. This week on the show it's wild. I found myself trying to learn a lot this week in this episode. Yeah,
me too.
Like kind of came in, somewhat blind actually to what this lady does. Like even some of the acronyms, like the letters she was using was like, what is that?
Right. Well, she reached out to us.
Yeah.
And which was really fun that she approached us and wanted to talk about this specific form of therapy that she does. And we've been following her and interacting with her a little bit because I've been fascinated by it. But
even right now, I'm trying to remember it's RTT, which is.
Well, I don't know what the acronym is, but
so our guests our listeners are gonna have to listen in.
Well, we'll link it, and she probably explains it because we ask it like right away. But it's hypnotherapy, basically. Yeah. Yeah, and it's not like
watches and
like entertainment hypnotherapy. It's like more of a meditative state.
I was like, it must be really loud. I don't know if our listeners just heard, but my dog just barked. And it's not like that. It's not like you go into your session and the dog's barking. She makes you bark like a dog or something.
Right. Yeah. Good call. It's not like the entertainment stuff you see on TV where you're not like aware of yourself.
Yeah. But it is a hypnotic state like mindfulness. That's the way she described it. And it really is about helping to reprogram your brain, take out the barriers that are subconsciously present.
Yeah. But you can go to her for like anything.
Anything. All the things. Yeah. Addiction, anxiety, all the things.
Phobias, like struggling with like flights and she has a ton of free resources too, which is great. So we'll link all of that because it was amazing. We haven't said her name.
We haven't heard. Well, her name is Kate
Semeniuk.
There you go. Kate Semeniuk. And it's an intriguing episode. And I would assume it will be intriguing for our listeners. And it may be for some and it may not be for others, but it's still a fascinating thing. We do a little bit with the brain, which I'm always quite interested in.
Yeah. And she really does share some of her story too, of how she came to this. And, she has a really fascinating background. Like she's Ukrainian.
Yeah.
So there's some good parts of her story. She shares how she became so passionate about this type of therapy and then how it works, which we really wanted to understand how it works. Like what is actually happening in the room.
Definitely. We kept saying that. Yeah. Okay, wait, what?
Yeah.
Okay. So then you lay down and then you do this.
And you don't even lay down.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It sounds actually really good.
You don't lay down?
No, she didn't. You can sit in like a comfy chair.
Oh, okay.
That's what it's like. So you're cozy and like.
If I laid down right now today and close my eyes.
You'd fall asleep.
Yeah, you don't need to hypnotize me. I'm gone. Anyways, enjoy this episode. Make sure you like, share, all that kind of stuff. Really, we do love it when you share an episode.
Yeah, you can really do it easily from Apple or Spotify. Yeah. It's just the little like up arrow. Yeah. We text each other podcasts all the time. It's really simple.
We do. We absolutely do.
So share it with a friend.
Enjoy. Oh, I am so excited about today. I think this is going to be a great episode, and our guest is intriguing.
Yeah,
she definitely has got my attention. Not my heart yet, but maybe my attention for sure. We have Kate Semeniuk here with us, And you are a hypnotherapist. Is that right?
Absolutely correct. Yes.
Okay. And we were just joking before we press record that we don't really know anyone that's kind of gone through this process. And so we're kind of looking forward to kind of learning a little bit about that and kind of what that's like. And you're local, you're right here in Calgary, which is really cool. And so yeah, we're looking forward to the next little bit where we can just hear a little bit of your story, which we always do on Unpacked, and kind of what brought you to this space in your own personal life. And then let's learn it's
RTT.
RTT. That's right. So we'll learn a little bit about that towards the end of this.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. So to kick it off, can you just tell us a little bit about you?
Thank you guys for inviting me. Really, this is kind of like a fourth podcast that I'm doing in Calgary for the local podcast, and I just feel that it's so important to support something that is like born here, right?
Yeah.
So I wasn't born in Calgary or in Canada. I was born and raised in Ukraine, in a very small town, something like Canmore, I would say.
Okay.
Very similar, or maybe something like Cochrane. Because it was like 1 hour away from the mountains. That's why I chose Calgary. When we decided to immigrate, I was like, I want something that will be close to the mountains, something that will be very close to what I felt for 30 years. So 6 years ago, packed all of my belongings, left my business, left everything, took my daughter, my husband, and we just came here, started completely fresh, without anything. No connections, no network, nothing. However, being very excited and believing in ourselves, I guess, that would helped us a lot, being together as a team. And I started, because I left the business there, right? It brought me to the point where I didn't want more, right? So I was in the restaurant business. And now I realized that, before I didn't realize that everything that you do that is not completely beneficial to all the living things, right? I was selling alcohol, right? Because it's a restaurant, right? I didn't feel fulfillment. I just didn't. I felt it was just so not aligning with what I wanted to do. And at that point, couldn't explain it, couldn't understand it, couldn't put it into words, just felt depressed, always anxious, not knowing the reason. Came here, of course, the change of focus, the change of attention brought some peace, some inner peace, the change, the excitement. So the anxiety has the exact same symptoms as excitement. For our body, it's exactly the same, but the thoughts are different. So the thoughts of like fear of failure or not doing what I love from Ukraine just switched into the excitement. Oh, what is going to be here? What awaits me here, right? So it was same anxious feelings, just they turned into excitement. And I started to do completely different industry here. I started to do retail. I went into retail because I loved customer service, always loved to work with people. And it was still something at the back of my mind that you should be helping people, you should be helping people, you should be helping people. But I shut down the voice. You have emotions, you have logic, and you have soul. And logic and emotions are supposed to be your tools. They are your tools to use them, right? To get the new knowledge, to connect, to analyze, to feel, right? But at the same time, for me, they took over. The emotions took over, the logic took over, and it's just kind of overriding everything that I wanted. But at the same time, when COVID hit, that's when I started to realize, okay, this is it. I need to help myself. And then I will be able to help others. That's what brought me into hypnotherapy course. Because I was always anxious. I remember being anxious from the age of 5. Anxiety, panic attacks, night terrors. I wanted everything right now and right here because I was driven by subconscious mind, right? So subconscious mind doesn't know time and it wants it now and here without any excuses. Logic knows time. So it wants to wait, wants to achieve goals. It has the patience, but a subconscious mind doesn't. So because I wanted everything right now and right here, I wanted this rapid method. What can help me really, really quick, fast. And just just as I was trying to do my therapy sessions, which worked great. The lady was amazing, right? Amazing listening skills. I knew what I have to do after my therapy session. I was like so determined, would come back home and just drift back into the old patterns of thoughts. And I was like, what is not working? What is not working here? That's what brought me into subconscious mind. I was like, I need to uncover what is triggering me there so that I can look into the future. I could be in the present, because I was always like stuck in the past or fearing the future, not actually just looking with excitement into the future and living in the present. That's what hypnotherapy did for me, kind of brought me back into the present, right? So make peace with the past, look into the future with excitement. And here I am.
Wow.
I was just going to ask you, was there like a theme, or was there a story around like what brought you to start exploring therapy, even like what brought you to the point where you knew you needed help?
Or even we should ask the coming to Canada question too.
Yeah,
Yeah. Both of those. We'd like to hear both of those. Yeah.
Let's start what brought me to hypnotherapy. When the COVID started, of course, we were all isolated, at home. Mm-hmm. I had 2 beautiful kids. I had an incredible house that we just renovated with my husband, right? With our hands, no help. I had an incredible partner, and I was sitting on the couch and crying, right? And he sat right next to me and he says, Kate, look at this life. Look at this life. You have a job. So I wasn't laid off. I was just on mat leave. Look at these kids, healthy, beautiful kids, amazing. You have me, I'm supporting you like everywhere and in everything. And you have you, healthy woman, with young, right, with all of those goals and inspirations. What is not working? And that's what brought me, probably it was like a rock bottom, right? If I cannot be happy with what I have, then I will never be happy. No matter how much I have, how many kids I have, how many, I don't know, even partners, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because if I cannot be happy right now, then I will never be happy. So not enough, right? That core belief, right? Not enough. It was there. And of course, it was a little bit embarrassing. And that's how browsing the modalities in the internet, the Marisa Peer rapid transformational therapy, the RTT, just came up in the ad. And I think I set the intention that I need to find out the answer. And it just popped up, and probably, you kind of go with the flow and follow the signs. And I signed up for the program, loved it from the first day. The rest is history.
Wow.
How I came to Canada, it was the moment when the first war started in Ukraine in 2013, right? And we sat with my husband, and my husband says, how do we see our life in the next 10 years? What do we want for ourselves? What do we want for our daughter? We only had Anna at that time. She was about 4. And I said, well, I want, at first, I just need safety. Just from the safe place, you can make better decisions. And he says, okay, if you know English, then we can try to immigrate to see the world. We have never traveled before. We have been to Turkey and to little different countries around Ukraine, but never traveled outside. I was like, we are young, we need to explore the world. And that's how we started to look into Canada. An amazing place, safe place. I know that for Canadians, sometimes it doesn't feel that it's safe, but for Ukrainians, it's like it's the safest place ever on earth.
Wow. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we started the process. We had a couple of rejections in the process, but eventually we got the visas and we came here in 2016. So about 3 years, the process took us.
That's an incredible story. How have you been feeling about what's going on now? And I'm assuming you still have family back in the Ukraine, and what is that? What has that been like for you and your family?
We knew that. We knew that when we were going in 2013, they started to take some of the territories. in Ukraine to occupy. So we knew it would happen. We just didn't know when. So that's why we decided to leave, because we knew that the threat is always there. We know the countries, right, that are around us. We know the intentions, right? So we knew that, that it will happen. We just didn't know when. Right now, when we found out, of course, in February, it's a big hit, but it's not even close to what people feel there. You sit here, all you can do is donate, help, volunteer, right? That's all we can do. But if I think about the people there, of course, it has nothing to do, right? My pain is not even close to the pain that they feel.
Yeah. Yeah. It's heartbreaking. And it's actually still so very shocking to me personally. So this sound like probably naive. I can't believe that we as a human race still can't figure out how to do things without violence. It hurts everybody right now what's happening there. So anyways.
Yeah, absolutely. Even the prices here, if you can see the spike in prices, it's all affected, right, by the events that are happening. It's funny how countries, when they attack another country, their intentions, they're fighting for peace. Right? They're like, we're going to attack and we're going to bring peace. Like, you don't have to fight for peace. You just have to find it in your own place, right? At your own home. Like, any fight for peace just ends up in another war or another conflict.
We just, as humans, we just continue to do it over and over and over. Tell us a little bit about, so you do RTT, and it obviously, it works. Like, you find it to be an effective thing in your own anxiety and some of the things that you're working through. As we get to that, like, what was that like? The way that you're describing it is that it's pretty instantaneous. Is that true?
Yes. We tend to overcomplicate our mind. And that's our logic. It loves to create 2,500 routes and options. And of course, based on all the information that we get in, news, social media, right? What we know, experiences, words, friends. And that's why our logic becomes like a huge smart machine that just does all of this and overcomplicates. So how it all started and why people have this little bit cautious attitude towards hypnotherapy. Even long before the first psychologists, psychotherapists, psychiatrists, before the war, the First World War, when they were talking to people with psychosis, at that time it was called like that, any emotional mental health problem was called psychosis. They would ask them to close their eyes. They will ask them, close your eyes. You can talk, you can express what you feel, but close your eyes. And it was such a common practice when in the First World War and in the Second World War. Hypnotherapy was very effective in terms of PTSD, complex PTSD, to revisit, to reprocess the memories, to look at them from a different perspective. We cannot change what happened to us. Some people say, can you help me with hypnosis? Just forget about my ex-partner. Or I was like, I cannot make you forget. We can block that memory. Yes, it's possible. We are very suggestible, but that doesn't mean that you can forget. The rule of the mind is that subconscious mind never forgets. It remembers everything. As I tell them, we cannot forget things. So in terms of trauma or PTSD, after Second World War, first antidepressants were developed, researched, and hypnotherapy became very unnecessary, really, right? Because the first patients started to be treated with medication. A lot of hypnotherapists really lost their jobs. And what they started to do, a lot of them went into stage hypnosis. Entertainment, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's how we start to really look at hypnosis. Oh, this is people on the stage in
you can get somebody to bark like a dog and do something. While
in reality it's completely different. the stage hypnosis and the hypnotherapy session is a completely different things.
Okay.
It feels different. It's, everything is different about it, unless it's a little bit of a relaxed state in both ways. However, it's very different. So now people are coming back to it. So I wouldn't separate hypnotherapy with mindfulness. I wouldn't. However, it's a journey. People go on a journey. I never say like, I cannot do anything for you. You will do it. Because they will tell me, oh, get rid of my panic attacks or get rid of my anxiety. I can never do that for you. I can help you. You show the way, you explain, you teach, you coach, but the person that is the one who needs to make the decision. It's not that difficult and complicated. And when I say that to people, they start to really have that hope in their own healing. They don't have that, oh, it's hopeless. I'm going to live with that for my whole life. No, you were born to change whatever you need to change or whatever you want to change, but you can change things for sure. There are some things, of course, and some conditions that we cannot change, right? If you think about the kids and genetic conditions that, of course, you look at it and you understand that there is only so much we can do. But with us, me, you, Tara, right? We can do anything. The biggest privilege of us is that we can have a choice. We can have a voice and we can have options.
So like, just walk us through what a session then looks like. So when you show up, we'll pick on me for a second. So if I showed up and said, look, I got anxiety or whatever, an addiction, or what are some other things I could have problems with?
You want more suggestions?
I'm sad. Grief.
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah, some of those. What?
I don't know. I have that. That's why I said
I thought you were talking about me here. You're just like throwing out symptoms here.
Well, did you want me to suggest
I'm totally
things?
kidding. I did. I come in to see you and I say, look, I got...
Wait, we should maybe ask, are there specific things that people should come in with, and are there things that people shouldn't come in with?
People can come with anything.
Okay.
The only type of people that, for example, I do not work with, not because I don't want to, it's just because they don't want the help. A narcissist, right? So people who have narcissistic tendencies, they don't want the help or they just don't believe they need help. So these people someone that I just cannot help because I need the people to come to
willingly.
Me or to any, right, and want it. But if the people don't want it, then there is nothing I can do, right? So there are some specific people that just don't ask for help even, so they don't even come to me.
So, I get another question that goes with that then. So one of the things that I observe when I see or have read about narcissism is that there seems to be a lack of like humility.
There is. Mm-hmm.
So are you saying that part of, just growth and transformation requires a posture of humility?
Narcissists usually have a wounded child inside that is shut down so deep very long ago that the people start to not identify themselves with that person anymore. That inner child, that actually their soul, they don't identify themselves. So they took on the role, right? They took on the role and they identify themselves with that role. So there is no point in telling them, like maybe you should go back and resolve whatever is happening in the past. In order not to be wrong ever, I need to make someone else wrong all the time, right? So one of the rules how to address, if you are, for example, if we are in a circle of, you have anyone that that can have those tendencies, there is no point, right, in proving ourselves, because they will never agree and they will never make you right. They have three strategies: idealize, right, diminish, and utilize. So idealize, they make you the center of the world. Whoever it is, doesn't matter, woman, man, right, doesn't matter. Then they humiliate, diminish, right, they manipulate. And if the person starts to show up, to stand up, utilize, right? So don't need it. So that's just three strategies. So I know that a lot of people are right now in those relationships, and some people feel like there is no option, right? Look for escape. Like, yes, if you need to be in that relationship for now, for the kids, or look for escape, plan an escape.
What a great description.
Yeah, that was really helpful.
Yeah. Really, really helpful.
Yeah. So if people, I had clients, why I'm saying that, I had clients who come to me and it's like, I just want to change my partner. I believe that it can be. I was like, plan an escape. What I can help you do is find out how you ended up in those relationships. So for example,
so we show up at your office and we have anxiety. Let's use anxiety, because I think that
it's probably a common one.
Yeah, it's probably a common one.
Very common.
Okay.
I would say very common, right? I usually ask people, how do they feel? How do they see their life without the problem? They need to have the vision, even if they don't believe in it. And most of the people don't believe in it because they say, I don't remember myself without anxiety or without panic attacks or fears. I was like, okay, then let's create that vision. So we create the vision. It takes about 5 to 7 minutes, right? They start to dream, like they really start to visualize, dream, right? Even though they don't believe in it yet.
Okay, so wait 1 second. So they're already laying on the couch and with their eyes closed.
Yeah, like what does the room look like?
Like, yeah.
Because I'm sure people are wondering.
I thought I was filling out a form a second ago, but I think you just jumped into like, you've already... a laying down position.
We're just talking. You're like panicked. You're like, what has happened?
I'm so intrigued by it. Like, there's a part of me that's like, I want to try this, but I'm not going until I know what's going to happen.
I think so. I think there's such a mystery. So I think you're right. You're doing a really great job. Can you describe like the first session? They're just chatting with you. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. Yes. So no, the session is a 2-hour session. They come and the first 15 to 20 minutes, we chat. We talk. It's an intake form. Let's just say it's an intake form. I ask them, what do you want? Like, what do you want? And they usually say, I want to be free and happy. My most biggest desires in all of them. I want to be free and happy. What is happiness for you? If happiness is money, we go into that. We uncover why happiness is money. If freedom is... I usually tell them a little bit, educate them a little bit. What is happiness? What is freedom? Right? For them. So they have a bigger understanding, like, oh, this is what I actually want. Right? If we picture that life without the problem, I ask them a little bit about themselves. I don't need a lot of details because usually what your logic says and what your subconscious tells is a very different things. I ask client, so how did you grow up? And people say, I'm great. I was great. It was okay. It's great. It's a great childhood. And I completely understand. I did say that as well. And it was. For the most part, it was. But when we go into session later, then it kind of reveals all of those beliefs that people started to form. After 20 minutes of chatting, I usually explain to them how the session will go. So we do the induction. What is induction? It's a relaxation. It's a relaxation practice. That's it. I tell them to imagine 10 steps descending. Their kind of vision, their color of the stairs. I always give them the examples. I love to imagine stairs going to the beach, those wooden stairs, going to the beach and having the chair and sitting there in our mind. Our mind creates everything twice. First in our mind, then in reality. That's how it works, right? You first have an image in your mind, and then if you really want it, you will recreate it, good or bad. So when we go into that relaxed state, I ask them, you can just close your eyes and just imagine those 10 steps descending. And they love it. Usually clients love it, right? They love this feeling of drifting, floating, but they're still very aware. It's not a deep trance at all. I need the interaction. Our RTT session is very interactive because the client need to get an understanding. And when he goes down or she goes down 10 steps down, I do the suggestibility test. So it's just to show them how powerful their mind is. So I ask them sometimes to imagine magnets in their hands and how they draw their hands together. Maybe magnets on their shoulders, and that's kind of lifts their head to the right and to the left, just to show them how powerful their mind is. Even without having it, their body acts like it is real, because subconscious mind doesn't know real from imaginary. It just doesn't understand that. So everything you think, your mind kind of relieves it, your body relieves it, right? This is why we have goosebumps, right, on our body, because it feels like we are talking about something and it feels like it's real. So when we do that, that's when we go on a journey. I tell them, I'm taking you to the most significant, crucial scene that is all to do with how, why, and where you started to be anxious. And your mind is going to be like Netflix pictures. Your mind is going to drift in front of those memories from your past. And when I tap your head, you're going to be there. Whatever your mind comes to, just lock onto that memory. Subconscious mind is so smart. It gives you exactly what you need to work on. Exactly. And people go into different memories, recent, mostly childhood memories. And I'm telling them, you're not reliving that memory. You're looking at it on the screen. And then we go and investigate that scene, event, memory, or feeling. Daytime, nighttime, inside, outside. What belief did you make about yourself? How does that show up in your life now? What do you know now that you didn't know as a child? And they usually connect. Oh my goodness, I was 5 and I started to believe that school is really important. And if I don't do good in school, my parents will yell at me and I'm not, then it means that I'm not lovable or I'm not accepted or whatever belief it is. And I say, okay, now let's look at your fear of public right now. Public speaking, fear of public speaking. How does that show up in your life now? Oh, well, if I mess up, then I'm rejected. I'm not accepted, right? So the same belief is just different situation. So, but I tell them, but you are 45. How is it different now? Can anyone reject you? What will happen? Because when you're 5 and someone rejects you, if your parents reject you, you won't survive in this world because you're a dependent child. What will happen when you're 45? And they usually are like, oh, I have so many options. So they understand that it's not a hopeless and helpless situation. And we go in a couple of those memories. When they make the connection, when they connect, it's part of the CBT, by the way, in hypnosis. So cognitive behavioral therapy, when they connect the behavior, the belief from the past and the behavior right now, or the strategy. I usually ask them, what decision did you make? Many people say, I'm 8 years old and I made the decision that I have to be perfect, that I will only be accepted when I'm perfect. Okay, how does that show up in your life now? Like, I always strive for making it perfect. And I was like, okay, and does the universe allow perfect? And they're like, no, there is nothing perfect. So what will happen if you always strive for perfect? Will you reach it? Like, no. It's like, of course, because the universe doesn't allow it. It will balance. So when they have that understanding, we go into the healing part, because that's an emotional part, let's just say. The healing part is when they tell their subconscious mind that that's not me anymore. I'm not 5. I'm not 8. I'm not 9. For example, if they were abused or neglected, that abuser is not in my life anymore. We sometimes need to do dialogue with a hurter. It's an incredible tool, right? When they need to say something that wasn't expressed. We do the role function and intention where they find out what is that issue doing for them. An incredible tool. Like, for example, if it's an anxiety, right? I ask you, okay, imagine where is it? You're scanning your body and you're finding that anxiety. Where is it? Usually people say, here, head, hands, whatever it is. Give it a color. Give it a shape. oh, it's a burning circle, or it's a green triangle, or it's a fog, it's like an electrical, whatever, the mind, imagination, it's different for everyone. And we find out, okay, now repeat after me. And I tell them, I'm the anxiety. And what I do for Kate is to protect her. Maybe it's protect her. Maybe it's to make her sick. Maybe it's to punish her. Maybe it's to prioritize her, to give her attention, to protect her from harm and pain. So we find that what is, because every single symptom in your body, it's the language that is telling you something. And when you find out the language, when you interpret it, you can let it go and say, okay, thank you, but I don't need that protection. Like, I'm not 8. You don't have to be there anymore, right? So, and because they do it in this light meditative state, it has a big impact. It has a bigger impact that if I would just tell them to do that with their open eyes in their critical thinking and logical mind, right? Yeah. And the healing, there are so many tools, at least 10 tools that I use depending, and I choose which one to use depending on the issue. Maybe they need to take that child out of there and heal it, upgrade it, reparent. Maybe they need to dialogue with the herder. Whatever it is, we do that, depending on the issue. But and then we do the recording. I make them the recording, their personalized 15 minutes meditation that they listen to for 21 days, because mind loves what's familiar. So the shift is huge, and you can feel, oh yes, now I realize it. It's amazing. But the mind loves what's familiar, so it loves to draw us to familiar patterns.
Okay, so you're recording this session, audio recording.
No, just the last part, just that 15 minutes. I usually tell them, yeah, you can now relax, right? We do the reframe, we do the letting go. And then I tell them, now you can relax, and I will make you the recording. You can just follow my voice, and you can drift into the most amazing sleep, whatever they choose. Yeah, so this is how approximately the session goes, right?
Okay.
And it's so different because some people need more time to process. Some people become emotional. Some people actually really inspired and motivated and healing, right? For some people, it's emotional and then they let go. It depends.
Yeah, everybody does their own kind of journey through healing.
And for many parts, anxiety usually has only a couple of root causes. So one of them is indecision. I need what I need. I know that I have to make that decision, but I'm afraid. So indecision, right? Fear of dying, that will show up in panic attacks, right? Social anxiety, health anxiety. So fear of dying, right? And then underused survival brain. You know, when we sit on the couch and we don't really walk or move our body, the survival brain is going to be like, okay, I need to do something. Survival brain needs exercise. That nervous system, it needs to exercise. Survival brain will never see threat in the good things. That's why we're always drawn to the negative, right? To negative, to see the threat. No, everything is good there. In the positive world, everything is good there. But the survival brain, if it's underused, right? If we don't walk every day, right? Move our body, right? Who likes to exercise, run, just a little workout, even 10 minutes, right? It's underused. So it starts to trigger you. Finding some different thoughts, obsessive, intrusive thoughts, overwhelming. And these are like the roots. These are these roots of causes. And of course, 3 types of thoughts. So thoughts, expectations. I expect it to be like that. But, we cannot expect anything because we never know how it's going to go. So when the expectations are not met, we start to be frustrated and anxious. Thoughts, desires, right? Desires. I want this, but I still don't meet the requirements of that person who can have it. And thoughts, requirements, like I need for the world to be in peace all the time. And that causes frustration because there is a balance of good and bad all the time. Yeah.
A couple of thoughts I just are coming to mind. So first of all, it sounds amazing and like scary at all.
Yeah.
Like, it sounds really scary.
It does sound really
I'm
intense.
having anxiety talking about and I think I'm trying to articulate this as quickly as I can because it's fascinating. I'm all in on the brain and how the brain operates. And every time I start learning about the brain, I learn something new, and then I have to tell everybody about it. So you kind of had me at that part of that conversation. But what does it look like for clients and even for yourself when you were doing it? Is like, do you get resistance?
First of all, we are taking words stuck from our life for good. There is no stuck, right? If it's stuck, then it stops to exist. Like, think about the life. You breathe all the time. When you stop to breathe, your physical body stops to exist, right?
Yeah.
So you're never stuck. You're taking a break. Always, whenever you are in this indecision, right? And I'm like, I'm stuck. I don't know what to. I'm taking a break. The words, the very strong words like anxiety, I'm done. This is the end, right? It's not going to work. I'm exhausted. I'm dead. I'm broke, right? All of these, they're creating a lot of physical symptoms in our body. So we are smoothing them, softening them always. And then the mind is going to be confused. I'm not anxious. I'm worried. And then the brain is like, well, worried is not that bad. Like, we all worry a little bit, right? So it doesn't give you this, and like,
Yeah.
So stuck is not a good word, because nothing is stuck. The world never, the line, like, it never stuck. It's always goes, right? Always goes forward. The second one is, there is always a price. There is always a price. Even when we are like, look at anything that you achieved in your life. Take any goal that you achieved, even the smallest one.
Yeah, there's sacrifices involved in it. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
When you go to the grocery store and you pick lettuce or salad in the pack, right? And you're like, okay, I think this is going to be a good snack, right? You're saying no to satisfying your anxious, like these primal feelings, like, oh no, give me the chocolate right now. Right? You're choosing, so you're saying no, right? So you're shutting down a little bit that craving, right? For example, that's just an example.
Yeah, as I was just going to say, like, lettuce has never been on my list of snacks.
But it's just an example. You go and you take you buy this type of crackers. You say no to other crackers. There is a price all the time. It's identifying that price always. Write down the price. Write it down. What are you saying no to? What is the price of making a decision? What can hurt? What can hurt the ego? What is that in the ego can hurt? Right? And then looking at it, and I was like, am I ready to pay that price? But in the end, if it's something that you really want, you will be ready to pay the price.
Yeah. So just to take us back to kind of some of the questions. So primary stuff, like, primary things people are coming to you with anxiety,
panic attacks, anxiety, fears.
Those are some of your main things.
Phobias. Yeah.
Phobias. Okay. But are people coming to you for like addictions, major life decisions? You were nodding your head. Okay.
All of that. All of that. Addiction, weight loss, binging, eating disorders, right? Confidence, fears, phobias. With phobias, it's a little different, right? With phobias, it's an isolated emotional moment. Boom. In that moment, a child or an adult, right? They form, their mind becomes a camera. In that emotional moment, like the first abuse, right? Accident, terrorist attack, anything. Dad left mom.
Yeah, you're describing trauma, basically, right? Yeah.
Well, the first one. The mind becomes a camera, a 5D camera. The mind takes picture, the colors of the walls, the smells, the animals, the season, the flowers, everything. And it starts to create like, this is all dangerous. This is all dangerous. And if the mind locks onto one thing, it can become a phobia, right? So phobia of cats. Oh, come on, let's go to that moment. When did your mind locked onto cats as a danger, as a life-threatening danger, right? So phobia of The same was water, flying, driving.
Snakes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Snakes.
We should send Ryan in and get his spider thing taken care
Yeah,
of.
my husband is afraid of spiders. Definitely has phobia. I'm sure he'll love me for sharing that.
Oh, I did it. It was me.
It was you. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I had as well. I had phobia of flying, right? So panic attack on a flight, right? And and it can be connected to the fear of dying, to the loss of control, but it also can be that isolated moment. So usually it's the phobias, love working with phobias. It's just unlocking that, decompressing that isolated moment. And the people are like, oh, this is why I started to be afraid of dogs, or like something like that, right? Or this is why I started to be afraid of driving. It's not about the car and not about the driving at all. It's just at that moment, my mind locked onto that as the most dangerous thing. So the mind is like, okay, for the rest of your life, I'm going to keep you away from that. So anytime you sit in the car, I'm going to give you a panic attack.
Yeah. Can you speak to a little bit of like how you work with some of the other, like you mentioned before that it's 2 sessions most likely for people, or how many sessions do they see you with? And then they can go back to their counselor, or they can do other types of therapy as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually I love to tackle something like lack of confidence, self-love, fear of criticism, fear of judgment, fear of public speaking in one session. I don't like to do more. But there are some I don't like, because I love for them to go on with their life. If there is something holding them back, there is a secondary benefit to the issue. The secondary gain, that unconscious trigger. And I try to help them to uncover that as well. So if 2 sessions or 3, so it's eating disorders, right? Bulimia, right? Anorexia, PTSD, complex PTSD, neglect, abuse, sexual assault. So these definitely do require more sessions, just because there are so many layers. But it doesn't mean that they have to stop seeing the therapist. No, not at all. Their therapy sessions their coaching sessions become more productive and effective, because they have this understanding. So like, oh yes. And when the therapist is giving them advice, telling them little tricks and techniques, coping techniques, they're like, yes, I can do that. It's easier to do that. So they don't drift back into those patterns, when something is uncovered from the subconscious mind. It just becomes better, easier for them.
And your clients don't typically then often need to come back to you.
Yes. I want them to just move on with their life. Really. Like we can absolutely go for, when people come to me and they say, I'm 10 years in a therapy. 10 years. I was like, and how your life has been these 10 years? Well, the same as before. A little bit better, right? It's like, no. Let's make those therapy sessions effective so that you actually get really good takeaway from them, Yeah. And then it's uncovered, and then they feel better. They always feel better. Yeah. It's emotional release as well. It's understanding, it's realization, insight. You know how it's like, I'm going to show you this. And I know that in the podcast, it might not show up, but you can cut it if you want to. Yeah. But technically you have B and you have A. So this is where you are, and this is where you want to be.
Yeah.
So we think it's like linear, right? So it's like this. However, we know that it can be like this. It can be like this. It can be like this and like this. Or, so this is your A, for example. This is like I'm with anxiety, and this is I'm free, right? So it can be different ways how you can get there. Or it can be this.
Oh,
it can be a quantum leap, right?
I wish our viewers could see that.
Well, we actually have the video being recorded now, so we could use that because that's really helpful.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can use that, right? So
okay.
A and B. Yes. So, and sometimes, those moments when you wake up and you say, I'm not going to do that anymore. That's called the quantum leap. So hypnotherapy, RTT session just helps.
Yeah,
to push towards that quantum leap, so you don't have to struggle for years and years and years. It doesn't mean that the healing is done. No, you go on and uncover other layers, but you can start really enjoying life. Addictions as well. Addiction is the connection to something that became a soothing, numbing, right? Avoidant, right? So it's the same. So the issues are different, but I always say to clients, there is nothing wrong with you. Where is that mind connections? What it connected to? Why? What feeling are you trying to suppress or numb, right? And when you get that understanding, then you're like, okay, yeah, that's not, I can work on that. Yeah.
Wow. But as we kind of wrap it up, I'm curious, because what I'm hearing you say is you're hearing a lot of stories, and of course you're working people towards healing of those stories. But I'm curious, as a pastor for 28 years, I'm now a coach. What do you do to take care of yourself? Because I'm assuming that some of the stories you hear are easy, they're easy to let go of and to not think about very much for you, or have them affect your own story. Mm-hmm. And I would assume some are not that way. Like, as a pastor, that definitely was the case. What do you do? Like, is it mindfulness? Like, what is it that you do to essentially take care of yourself?
So I create this little, it's funny, but I'm excited to share this because I don't know if anyone knows that I do that. Well, you will be the first one.
Okay, we like that. I do like that.
That's exciting.
Yeah. So I create before the session, like 5 minutes before the client has to come in, either to switch on the Zoom or to come in because I have an office at my home, right? So I invite those people. I feel they feel so comfortable when they come to my home. They feel like they can trust, right? If I'm accepting them into my home, I'm opening the doors to healing, right? To trust me, and I trust them. But 5 minutes before that, I close my eyes and I imagine this light dome first in me, like a little light bulb, right? It's like an energy practice, I would say. And it starts to be bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until it kind of takes over my house, right? My house. And then it goes even bigger and even bigger, my city, my continent, and then the whole planet. And then I imagine maybe 3 to 4 saints. So for me, it's going to be Jesus, Buddha. I'm not, there is no egregor for me, right? I do use egregors like different religions, but for me, I'm very open to different things, right? So Jesus, Saint, right? Buddha, right? I do Saint Mary. So Jesus will be for the unconditional love. Buddha will be for the disattachment from anything material, right? Like very wisdom, right? Then Saint Mary will be for love, right? For this healing. And I imagine them all descending, and I'm telling, this is a safe place. Here I'm helping them. Here I'm helping with the help of the energy, because I'm not taking on that problem that they have. I'm like passing it through, right? Like a channel, right? I'm helping. So, because when I put my own ego into the session, nothing is going to work. Then it doesn't work. No. I have to really see myself. It's a channel, right? So non-judgment, right? Non-criticism, non-attachment, right? To whatever happens. So I imagined that. I was like, this is a safe place. The healing is happening here. And I'm so excited. I'm going to help them in any way possible for the benefits of them and for all the living creatures. That's what I do. When I end the session, of course, there is a tiredness, right? Exhaustion. So I usually imagine like I'm stepping out of that. Like it's in my mind, but for example, I make that ball smaller, put it back, and I kind of step with that ball. Okay, I'm stepping out of that session, right? Cutting everything, right? And sometimes I can burn a sage, like in the office and in the house, just to make it, yeah. But for most of the part, this is it.
Okay.
That's cool. Do you have anything you could share, like people could do at home right now? Like that was a great example. That was really beautiful. But do you have anything people could do if they're fearful or if they're feeling like anxious, or even to just start their day on a good note? Like, what do you recommend?
First of all, is in the morning, saying yes. Like waking in the morning and saying, I'm saying yes to changes. I'm saying yes to anything unexpected that can happen today. I'm saying yes to not expecting things. Why do we have fear? Because we expect for something to happen that actually doesn't happen the way we want. So I say yes to unknown. There is a magic in the unknown. And we learn to see danger in the unknown. There is a magic in the unknown. So waking up every morning, people know that they need to practice gratefulness. We know all logically that we need to do that. But maybe if that doesn't come into habit, right? Just saying yes. I'm saying yes to today. Saying yes to life. I say that all the time. I say yes to changes, to challenges. I say yes to challenges because they test me of that person who wants to have something, whatever it is. It's a good work day, or it's a plan that you have in mind, or it's a goal that, right? I say yes to not fulfilling everything that I wrote in a plan today. And that's okay. I'm scared. I love to take the shower and to do this with my hands, I think it's from Reiki practice, but it can be anything. You can just ask, I'm washing off everything. I'm washing everything that is not needed. And just kind of like doing this, throughout your whole body, and everything is going down the drain, everything that is not needed. It's a water in the shower, and you cannot scoop that water back. The same with that end. You cannot scoop it back. So it's gone, it's gone. So this is something that people can practice. They can do at least 10 minutes a day of exercise, any type. Or like just saying yourself that there is no one like you on this earth. There is no one. It's just you. So your life path is like no one else's. So if someone is telling you, if you do this, this is what's going to happen to you. No one knows what's going to happen. And no one has a right to tell us what's going to happen.
Wow.
Yeah.
This was helpful. One thing that does, before we get some of your information and some of your details, I think you made reference to this. So do you do this on Zoom as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. I did sessions with Australia, with India, as Great Britain, States. But it's all about, or sometimes even in Calgary, I had people with social phobia, right? It's hard for them to go out, to come out and to go out and even drive for a little bit. So I did it on Zoom. Yeah. And it works great. It's the comfort of their home.
Okay. So how do people get in touch with you? What's the...
Yeah, they can find me on my website. They can find me on Google Maps. If they Google hypnotherapy or RTT therapy in Calgary, they will find me for sure. There are a couple of RTT therapists in Calgary as well, right? So, but they can find me on the website. They can also contact me through Instagram, Facebook. I'm very active on social media. I have YouTube channel. It's about 200 videos on different fears and phobias. So people can relate, can see me before they come to chat with me for a consultation. They can kind of connect. Oh, is this the person that I want to work with? So they can definitely connect with me on social media just to kind of get to know, okay, this is something that I want to try.
So your website is?
KateSemeniuk.com.
Okay, it's just your name.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And we can link it. But I was going to say too, you have a ton of like free resources too. Like you mentioned your YouTube videos, but like all your social media is often like tips and helpful things and strategies. And you have meditations on your website too, I think, right?
Yes. On the YouTube, I think I have at least 10, 12 even on like fear of flying, or like self-love.
Great. Thank you so much for your time. This has been great. It's very interesting. Yeah. Very, very interesting. And we know you got lots of things to do, but we're grateful for your time. And
I sometimes get really excited. Like I'm excited to share it all.
You seem a bit excited. Yeah. You definitely are passionate about this. And that's what makes it fun to chat with you a little bit too. So
it's great. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. And hopefully maybe we'll be in touch.
Okay.
All right.
We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye. Hey, thanks for joining us. We'd love if you take a moment to rate, subscribe, and review the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Again, thanks for listening.